Hey guys, it's Jake again from Storytime with YDRC. Today we're going to be reading part 1 of Klawde, Evil Alien Warlord Cat. This is going to be the first part, so don't forget to like and subscribe so you don't miss the next ones. So, let's get started. Prologue. Date: the 789th day of the year 58493D. Planet Litterbox. Place: the supremest court of all galactic order. My enemies came for me at nap time. Before I could even unsheath my claws, they pounced atop me. They tied me up and chained my paws, and then they dragged me from my holding cell into the supremest court of all galactic order. It was a most unpleasant way to wake up. Though I could not fight them, I yowled so ferociously that the courtroom crowd, traitors, all of them, hissed and scattered. Only one cat had not betrayed me. My loyal minion, Floofy Fire. "You'll always be my Lord High Emperor," he called. "And I will always be your—" Ow! Someone had smacked him on the back of the head. It was the greatest traitor of them all, my former second-in-command, General Fang. "Not such a mighty and powerful warlord now, are you?" he said, purring. My tail lashed in anger. "I shall have my revenge on you, Fang." "We shall see about that," Fang said, and bared his teeth at me as the 13 noble elders filed into the room. The chief elder licked his right paw and called the court to order. "My fellow cats," he began, "thousands of years ago, when our planet was overrun by criminal felines, our wise ancestors decided that these evildoers must be exiled. Far across the universe, they discovered a vast wasteland of a planet, inhabited by a race of carnivorous ogres. For generations, we sent our convicts there. None ever returned. But in the year 49763B, the punishment was deemed too cruel. And it was decreed that no feline, no matter how evil, no matter how tyrannical, would ever again be sent to this horrible place. And so it has been, until you came along. You, former Lord High Emperor, have been so relentless in clawing your way to power, so ruthless in your evil schemes of domination, and so dedicated to general crimes against villainy, that we are forced to resurrect this ancient punishment." The crowd gasped. Have you anything to say, Whiskas?" asked the chief elder. A lesser cat might have begged for mercy, but all I showed them was my scorn. "Every one of you feckless felines will rue the day you overthrew me. The greatest warlord the universe has ever known. For the likes of a pathetic schemer like General Fang, you may shoot me into space like yesterday's trash, but I swear to you that one day soon, I will be back." General Fang chuckled. "You will be an ogre's breakfast." With a wave of Fang's paw, the guards unbound me and forced me into the waiting teleporter. A brilliant green light flashed as the wormhole opened. In an instant, I was transported 2,900.4 million light years across space to the most horrible, distant, and desolate planet in the universe, Earth. Chapter 1, Saturday. It was a rainy Saturday night, and I was lying on the floor of my new living room, staring at the ceiling and wishing I were anywhere but here. Dad was watching baseball. Mom was working her laptop, and I was experiencing a life-threatening level of boredom. I still couldn't believe what happened. Up until last week, I'd been having a really great life in Brooklyn, New York. But then, my parents decided to move 2,900.4 miles across the country to here, Elba, Oregon. If you ask me, and no one did, this was a terrible idea. In New York, I could visit 3 friends without ever leaving my apartment building. And when I did leave, I could walk to the library, the comic book store, a candy shop, and 2 pizzerias, all without having to cross the street. If I left my house in Elba, I could walk to 12 trees, an ant mound, a hornet's nest, and a bunch of rose bushes. Nature was everywhere. It was spooky. According to my mom, we'd moved to Oregon because she'd gotten a better job, and I got to have a big bedroom and a backyard. But that stuff didn't matter to me. Where were the comic book stores and pizza places? There wasn't a single shop on my street, not even a laundromat with good vending machines. Here in Oregon, I had nothing to do and 0 friends, which was maybe why I hadn't unpacked yet. But then again, neither had my parents. What their excuse was, I had no idea. I just picked up the latest American Man comic to read for the millionth time when it happened. A bright green flash lighting up the sky outside the window. It only lasted a second. Then everything went dark and rainy again. "Did you see that?" I asked. "Yes," my dad hollered. "Horace stole third base. Third base!" "No, that crazy green light!" My mom looked up from her laptop. "What, dear?" "The green light outside," I said. "Oh, Raj, that was just lightning," my mom said. Okay, so another weird thing about Oregon. Green lightning. I went back to reading my comic. Then the doorbell rang. Ding dong! The doorbell? Who could that be? Chapter 2. Here I was, alone, on Earth. It was even more horrifying than the ancient texts had described. It was nighttime. Blazing lights shone down from the top of huge branchless trees. As I scanned the area for carnivorous ogres and other dangers, something wet hit me on the nose. There was a liquid falling from the sky. Was this some sort of chemical weapon? Was I under attack? I rushed under a leafy bush, but it offered little protection. The liquid slid down my lustrous fur, chilling me to the bone. I didn't know what it could possibly be, but I hated it. I had to find shelter now. Thankfully, many of the trees on this planet did have branches. I climbed to the nearest one, from which I immediately found evidence of humans. All around stood their massive fortresses, packed in so close they almost touched one another. High wooden walls surrounded their small patches of territory. In front of the fortresses sat huge, tank-like vehicles. This must be a very warlike planet indeed. I needed to gain entry into one of these fortified structures. I didn't know what the ogres within would do to me, but this falling liquid was intolerable. I raced to the nearest fortress. Next to its front portal was a glowing button, a push button to open the entrance. Perhaps this would allow me to sneak in without being noticed. I leaped up and pressed it. Ding dong! Hiss! Why did it make that awful noise? Chapter 3. Still Saturday. Did anyone else hear that? I asked. Hear what? My mom said. When she was working, the world could end and she wouldn't notice. The doorbell! It must have been the TV, dear, Mom said, still not looking up from her laptop. We don't have friends here yet. That was for sure. Ding dong! There it went again. I got up and peeked through the front door window, but I couldn't see anyone. Then I heard a horrible noise. It sounded like a possum being electrocuted. Was it some kind of nature right at our front door? Back home, the closest I ever got to nature was when I watched pigeons fighting over pizza crusts on the sidewalk. Living here was terrifying. Finally, the awful squealing stopped. Nervously, I opened the door and peered into the darkness. There was a cat sitting on our welcome mat. What that terrible sound had been meowing. Was that you? I said. What are you doing here, kitty? And then I felt really stupid, because cats can't talk. The cat was skinny, wet from the rain, and didn't have a collar. Maybe he was a stray. Maybe I could keep him. I had always wanted a pet, especially a cat, and now one had appeared on my doorstep. I was about to try to pet him when he raced between my legs into the house. Ah! My mom shrieked like she'd seen a rat. I ran into the living room. Mom was clutching her chest and staring at the cat, who was frozen in a low crouch. Where did that thing come from? She said. And why is it in our house? He was on the porch, I said. The doorbell rang, and there he was. My dad smiled. Maybe it's a welcome to the neighborhood gift. My mother did not smile. A plate of cookies is a welcome to the neighborhood gift. A cat is a reason to call animal control. Can we keep him? I asked. Mom looked at me like I was insane. Here, kitty, 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 Dad said, reaching out a hand to pet him. The cat swatted at him with his paw. It's probably feral, Mom said. No, he's not, I said, even though I had no idea what feral meant. He's just scared. Can I keep him, please? My parents looked at each other, then at me. Then we all turned to the cat. He was staring right back at us. He meowed. At least, I think that's what the sound was. Chapter 4. Though I feared the button's infernal noise would summon the humans, I jumped up and struck it a second time. Ding dong! Still, the portal remained shut. I attempted to get a better look at the glowing button. Maybe it was operated by paw print recognition technology. Were these humans less primitive than was believed? Perhaps I could ask them for help. It was a dangerous idea. According to the ancient histories, humans were ugly, brutal, and stupid. But right now, they were my only hope. Humans, hear me, I cried. I am a poor and hungry traveler from a distant planet. Still nothing. I was about to seek shelter in a different fortress when the portal slowly opened. Out peered a creature more hideous than my worst nightmare. The monster was big as 20 cats, and it stood on 2 legs. But the most shocking, dreadful thing was that this beast had no fur. I froze. Which was worse, this monster or the falling liquid? I raced between the human's legs. Inside was dry, but there were 2 more humans, and these were even bigger and more hideous. I sank into defensive crouch. The largest ogre reached toward me, but I batted its monstrous, hairless paw aside. But there was no way I could overwhelm them all. They were too gigantic. My only defense, I realized, was disguise. Please, do me no harm, I said as sweetly as possible. I am just a lost and innocent astronaut. I don't think the humans understood my sophisticated language. Their own speech was as ugly as their long, whiskerless faces. What came out of their mouths wasn't incomprehensible mix of slurring and grunting. I could understand that they were arguing over me, though. The small ogres thought to offer me protection, but the big ones were not convinced. Little could these humongous hairless humans know that standing before them was the greatest feline warlord the universe had ever known. All right, guys, that's all I have for today. We're going to be ending off right at the beginning of chapter 5. So, I'll see you guys next time. Bye.